evening, I'm Angela Hill.
And I'm Dennis Waltering. According to a study released today, there could be millions of gallons of BP oil left in the Gulf.
That contradicts a recent government report that suggests most of the crude was collected, dispersed, or evaporated. Paul Murphy reports on why researchers at the University of Georgia believe the government's numbers are not accurate.
Nearly 4 months since the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, and more than a month since a temporary cap stopped the flow of crude, there are conflicting reports on the amount of oil still polluting coastal waters. Scientists at the University of Georgia say as much as 79% of the oil that gushed from the well remains a threat to the ecosystem. They base their findings on a new analysis of government data.
The impacts of oil are still there. There's oil in the water, there's oil on the sediment, on the seafloor. There are going to be impacts to the system.
The Georgia study contradicts a 2-week-old government report that indicated of the more than 205 million gallons of oil that spilled, only 26% is still in the water. The rest, according to government researchers, was either contained at the wellhead, dispersed, dissolved, skimmed, or burned.
We believe that these are the best direct measurements or estimates that we have at the moment.
The idea that 75% of the oil is gone and is of no further concern to the environment is just absolutely incorrect in the opinion of the scientists that we engaged in this analysis.
New Orleans shrimper Pete Jericho says if there's still a lot of oil in the Gulf, he didn't see it yesterday during the opening of white shrimp season.
There's no oil in these shrimp. I mean, they're clean. They look like they're supposed to look. I mean, you look at the heads. The heads got a little fat in them. They're healthy. They're healthy creatures. There's nothing wrong with them.
Daryl Malik Wiley from the Sierra Club says the Georgia findings should serve as a cautionary tale for both BP and the federal government.
It's too early to say that the problem's solved. I think that what we're looking with the oil and its possible impacts could go on for months and possibly years.
According to the report, one misconception is that oil dissolved or dispersed into the water is gone and therefore harmless. LSU public health specialist Dr. Jim Diaz says the oil particles, no matter how small, have to go somewhere.
So it either gets semi-dissolved in the water column, or it goes to the bottom of the ocean floor, and then ultimately it might accumulate and pop up again.
And it's that fundamental difference of opinion as to when the oil is actually gone that accounts for that major fluctuation in residual oil estimates. While big clumps of emulsified crude may be disappearing from the Gulf, some scientists believe the dispersed oil that remains could be harmful to smaller life forms that larger animals and fish feed on. Dennis?
All right, Paul, thanks. BP is preparing to transfer its role in the claims process to a government-appointed administrator. The company says it will stop accepting new claims after tomorrow. The Gulf Coast Claims Facility, led by Kenneth Feinberg, will take over the process starting August 23rd. Feinberg is scheduled to be in Louisiana tomorrow to meet with residents and to answer questions about how the claims process will work. He'll hold a meeting at the Houma Civic Center at 10 a.m., then at the Pontchartrain Center in Kenner at 2:30 tomorrow afternoon.
Doctors in the Gulf Coast states are looking well beyond the cleanup of beaches and marshes and into the potential long-term health concerns of the oil spill. And already there's evidence that people have chemicals in their blood systems from the cleanup. Meg Ferris has the story.
Medical experts want answers to the tough questions many are asking about the future when it comes to the massive oil spill.
We are concerned. One, there's been exposures of workers and some coastal communities. There's some questions about food. The best way to address this, in our opinion, is to replace politics with science.
Doctors and scientists from 9 universities from across the Gulf Coast now have a consortium to collect health data now and possibly for decades to come. LSU Health Sciences Center and Texas A&M are heading it up.
We know the communities, we live in the communities, we eat the food, we're not going to disappear after it's over.
Studies have begun. There are complaints from workers, the headaches, the dizziness, the asthma made worse, the increase in alcohol and drugs to cope. And they know components of crude oil are a health risk.
In occupational settings where people are exposed to these chemicals, they do develop cancer.
Another concern is the 2-butoxyethanol in dispersants.
It has not been officially classified as a human carcinogen. However, It is an animal carcinogen and can cause cancers in animals.
In fact, these doctors already have evidence that 21% of people who worked with the dispersants now have it in their blood.
I'm not surprised that they already have it in their blood system because it's a very volatile compound that can be breathed in very quickly.
LSU is already testing tar and oil and dispersant samples in human cells. But other questions remain. What do they do to our genes, the food chain, the workers who cleaned up the land and wildlife? What about unborn babies, the health of future pregnancies of women exposed? What about all the chemicals now being thrown in the landfills with the used boom? Already they are gathering names of people who've been exposed firsthand.
I live 3 blocks away from the Mississippi River. I'm still eating the food. I'm not moving. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's a safe environment. But as a scientist, I have to be a little skeptical and raise an issue that nobody knows the long-term effects.
Meg Farris, Channel 4 Eyewitness News.
There have been no studies done 4 years past an oil spill.